Well, I thought I had changed my scene, but I didn't. You still see me. Luckily enough, you're not staring at me for 5 minutes and I didn't notice it because we are about to go into our next game. Already off the bat like that. So, next time I'll make sure to actually remove this face from our broadcast. Oh, okay. So, our next match will be in the lower bracket. I believe it is round 2? Yes, it is round... Sorry. I take that back. It is round 3 of our lower bracket. Is it? Yeah, it is. Okay. Sorry, I am having issues changing tabs and making sure I can keep up to date with everything. So let us jump on in. It is underway for us at the moment. We have spawning in as your English SwordPuppy. We'll be rocking the blue for this map. And then over on your opponent, you'll be seeing Lokth will be picking up your HRE. And we've been playing as your red player. So I want to thank you all for tuning on in, joining us in for the Age of Empires action today. It is been a fun day of Oceanic content. There's a few tournaments going in the Oceanic region that are all starting to pick up, making sure that there are plenty of Age of Empire 4 players going around. So make sure to check them out. There's Zero Effort. There's OCE Age of Empires 4. They run their own tournament as well. And there's also some, I know I was doing a Singaporean tournament yesterday that are happy to have Oceanic players to come along if you're ready. It also had Russian players and a mixture of Europeans. So plenty of Age of Empires 4 content that are coming at you. I'm sure many of you probably watched the Genesis tournament this morning. I haven't, so if anyone spoils it for me, I will. There's going to be some consequences because I can't wait to watch the Genesis tournament. It is a $20,000 tournament. I initially played in it. I got knocked out in round 2 to... Who did I get knocked out to? I don't remember who I got knocked out to, but they ended up coming, I think, top 8 in the qualifying. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify, but it made me feel a little bit better. So anyway, let's jump into our actual match going on here. And I just realized I don't have sound of the game, so let's get that one underway. So, we have the HRE. The HRE want to generally try and hit Age 3 the fastest out of most civilizations. One of the main reasons for this is their Age 3 landmark allows them to capture relics, and when they return it, they get 300 gold per minute per relic. Not just your standard 100. And oh my god, the spawn is absolutely perfect for Lokth. It is unbelievable. They got 3 directly up top. They're so far away from SwordPuppy. So SwordPuppy wants to try and defend that. He is going to have to go all the way out of his way to try and stop that HRE from picking it up. But one of the good things about the French is their age up landmark allows them to produce longbowmen and produces them faster. So the longbowmen can get pumped out and create a critical mass and cause a lot of issues for your opponents earlier on in this game. So SwordPuppy's already gone for a little bit of a look. He's found out where his opponent TC is. He's not looking too much for sheep that are surrounding the edges of the map or closer to his base. He kind of wants to understand what his opponent is up to and knows where he has to go when he sends those longbowmen out, hunting for his opponent's villages. Whereas Lokth is doing what I just mentioned, searching for those sheep. Unfortunately, wasn't quite paying attention. May have his scout on a rally location, looking around, trying to find sheep manually. Oh, sorry, automatically. But unfortunately, it's got to be a little bit unfortunate there. And we're going to be seeing that age up already come from that HRE player. SwordPuppy is still looking to develop enough. He's got enough to start putting that School of Cavalry. And you usually see it with... with English, you usually see it with your gold gatherers. Because your gold gatherers can deploy that landmark and then rotate over to either food or wood, depending on what you need at that time. Because you're going to be spamming those longbowmen out. So this is a very strong indication we're going to see early aggression come from SwordPuppy. Lokth needs to deposit the sheep which has and go visit their opponent, because you need to understand what's going to happen. If you see that those villagers are not on those gold vein, then you know that there is going to be some early aggression coming from this English player. And also you need to know where to fight on the map. And unfortunately for Lokth, gonna be able to not miss out on seeing that relic there, but did see the other two relics. So it's going to be very beneficial for Lokth to move on up. We're going to see a very early tower being placed by the English. So what this also does is this extends the Tower of Castles buff. What that is the English allows a little passive that goes across the TC and towers. It increases the attack speed of all ranged units in the area by 25%, which is huge when you mass some longbowmen up. What this does allow then is SwordPuppy can hold a very aggressive location, because if anyone tries to come at it, even men-at-arms, which can get early men-at-arms from the HRE, you should have enough attack speed to hopefully burn through those armored little tin cans. One thing we haven't discussed so far is kind of the resource spawns on either of these bases. There's nothing too out of the ordinary. Both sides have themselves a gold vein, a little bit forward for SwordPuppy, which doesn't matter too much because you are going for that forward aggression with the longbowman. You can already see that queued up there from the longbowman. He's got one at the back, but I don't think he's going to worry too much about his gold. He's not going to be too intensive there. It's the wood and food that's going to matter most. He's going to grab a blacksmith, and you'll look to see that +1 upgrade of damage, because that will completely put up the power spike that these longbowmen can push on out. You can already see an outpost coming up here from the HRE. A little bit worried about that push coming in from the longbowmen. Gives some space for these villagers to be able to hide, but longbowmen will be able to push on up, potentially find a kill or two before they can even hide into that tower. If Lokth is on the micro and completely 100% tuned in on the map and the game, could barely escape with the lives of those villagers before that does happen. So with the gold being developed from Lokth, this also says that he's going to be looking for prelates and possibly men-at-arms. Actually, might be. He's got his stables up and running. And he's made himself all the scouts. This says he's going to get professional scouts, which he already has, and he can grab himself these hunts and bring them on home. But what that does leave him open to is he's very vulnerable to any kind of attack coming from his opponent at this stage. Because scouts, they get torn to shreds by anyone but scouts, because scouts are absolutely useless when they fight each other. It is ridiculous. They're going to be returning home. They're going to bring themselves a nice little bounty of 1,400 food, because each deer is worth 350. Drops it all down. They're having a little bit of issues trying to drop that food off. There we go. All dropped on down, and those villagers continue farming. What I'd like to see is, if you are going for the strategy, grab survival techniques, because that allows them to gather a lot faster and hold a lot more. And SwordPuppy, he sees these scouts. He sees that he's picking up this food. And he's going for the shots. Fortunately, he volleys against two different scouts. He's not going to be able to find himself the kills here. And Lokth's going to see this. He's going to be a little bit of afraid. The fact that he's got no units to be able to deal with this. He doesn't have an archery range. He doesn't have a barracks. No men-at-arms. No archers of his own to counter. He's completely susceptible to SwordPuppy's push here. You're going to have to see a lot of these defensive outposts here to try and protect these villages. He's got two outposts here because those villages, now we can get them all both fit in nice and snug in both those towers. You can see more and more units are on their way. We've even got an archer that's going to be looking at extending that castle or network of castles buff. Look to see a tower be put down very aggressively very shortly. So SwordPuppy is taking a little bit of a commanding lead in terms of map presence. Lokth has enough to go up to age 3, but after seeing all that aggression coming from SwordPuppy, I would like to see, and he's actually going for it. This is going to leave him very vulnerable. He doesn't have the military. He's relying completely on those towers to protect him. But he does have a ton of food. All these scouts bring them a lot of food, but the archers have now started to make their way up. Lokth able to see this completely. These towers, because they are on a higher hill, can see so far down. Normally, the vision would be kind of stopped midway through these points. That hill able to help keep Lokth on their feet and on top of the longbowmen. SwordPuppy can't quite see the line yet. The scout can see a little bit. He's hoping. He wants to see this wood line, but he can't quite see it yet. He's going to rotate the scout on in. And as soon as he sees this, the fires come on through. They're going to be able to pick off one villager. Just picks off that one villager. And then they quickly retreat to that line. So using those scouts effectively, keeping an eye on both sides of the map. The scouts are looking around over here. They're going to see this outpost over here that's set up and prepared to lock in Lokth. But now that Lokth has hit that age 3, you should start seeing the men-at-arms, should see a couple of bags thrown down. No, he's going for the knights. Okay, so he wants to rush those knights to deal with the opponent's archers, not give them time to micro. But you know what we see here? We see a switch of some pikemen all ready for SwordPuppy, as now the rams are coming on in. They're charging ahead, but there's really no military for Lokth to be able to deal with this. You're going to see villagers be pulled off to try and stop these rams that are going to slowly tear through Lokth's base. He's just been housed. He can't build any more units. He's got wood. He needs to start making some houses very shortly. He's very careful about microing his units away from the action. But because of that, he can't produce. You have 3 knights about to be produced, but there's just no room for it. He's down to 30 population. SwordPuppy playing the long haul here, removing the economy and really anywhere to sleep on Lokth's side. And now the horsemen are coming on in. The archers have started to fire on out. The knights, they are going to the background. They're making sure that that outpost doesn't go up, so they effectively target and stop that buff that was going to be provided. Good choice there. It stops the archers from getting that buff, increases the rate of fire, which increases their damage output. And we might see another villager get pulled very shortly from SwordPuppy to try and go for that. And now the villagers are coming on out trying to stop any more houses going down. He's got another house up to get up to 40, but he needs more houses. He might actually lose some population here anyway as he's chasing them down. They're now AFK. This is what happens when you don't queue up to get the second ram. They're fighting. They're dying. They're losing everything. All the villagers got pulled off accidentally. Wood, food, gold. All villagers have been completely thrown into disarray here for SwordPuppy. And now the longbowmen by SwordPuppy are continually tearing into the rest of Lokth. Lokth is under attack and he's struggling to keep them all alive. He didn't get them in garrison. They're all standing around. You need to press the garrison, the seek shelter button, because it is buggy to get into these towers. I know I've been there. I'm pretty sure you've all been there. And it feels awkward sometimes to actually get those villagers to hide in those towers. That is so much damage that SwordPuppy has created. On the backlines, Lokth has created one of the relics. If he gets this back to his chapel, that is 300 gold per minute. If he can get that gold income steady from those prelates, he can possibly hold on and get a return favor in terms of the economy. You can look at this current resources here. He's got a little bit of gold, a little bit of food, but unfortunately not pumping out as quickly as they would like. He's got only 1 knight queued up here. The archers are taking a lot of damage from this tower. And they're going to heal up on the backgrounds. The knights are going to come on in. They're looking at finding more of SwordPuppy's units to deal with. And they're going to clean up that tower. But the buff of the network of castles is doing wonders for these archers at the moment. I'm a little bit surprised we didn't see any of those palisades thrown down. Oh, palings. Sorry, not palisades. Those palings will stun those knights. And then they'll get ripped upon, especially with the spearmen now being set up from SwordPuppy. He's prepared for these knights. The knights are chasing it out. They're trying to do whatever damage they can. They start to engage onto the archers, but The spearmen have caused the little bit of the stuns, but it's not holding on. There's so many knights here. They're starting to run over the top of all these archers. They're holding on. Somehow, some place, Lokth is pushing back the complete aggression that SwordPuppy had over this map. More villagers are coming on in. They're going to return around after and say, nope, we can't throw another outpost on out. And now everyone is being chased back in, giving some time and much needed air to Lokth to stay on a little bit longer. As we watch these knights clean up the rest of the archers, we need to have a look at the economy. It's not looking great. Lokth is at 16 to 35 of SwordPuppy. These knights need to do some damage. They need to hunt for their opponent. They need to try and return serve. And this is exactly what's happening. Find themselves a few villages and they're going to be looking towards this eco line. And this eco line, they have to walk so far. But good little attention from SwordPuppy allows them to start getting away. But can he find himself the 2 kills? He gets 1. He doesn't get the other 2. The spearmen here are to ward off everything that Lokth has got on offer, and he's going to find himself some nice little stone villages here. Gets a little bit of damage, not enough to kill, also wards off the food. And with this, he sees that he had villagers over at the food, which will indicate that SwordPuppy is looking at again a second town center very shortly. But this has now allowed a little bit of stabilization. I'm not sure if I agree with the scouts at the moment. He really wants to try and find more food because he doesn't have enough wood. Actually, what did I say? He's got plenty of wood to go for those farms if needed. So much wood in the bank. So many villagers queued. I'd like to see some of these villagers taken off. Throw some of that food towards picking up some more knights or tech switching to try and help deal with these archers. Because that at the moment, that is 2 minutes wasted of food that are just sitting in the bank. And it's one of those cases, every time you switch back to your TC, you're like, oh, I better queue up some villagers. And it's, you've got a 350 food queued up in the back, which could be going towards knights right now, which are what brought you back into this map. So SwordPuppy is going to be looking out, probably tech switching here. Actually, where is the military of SwordPuppy? There's a pikeman. There's no archers. What have I lost? TC coming out. There's only 9 military. Okay. So SwordPuppy's got nothing. If Lokth continues the aggression here with all these knights, Lokth can return serve and bring this game back onto equal footing. But if that TC goes up, that's going to be a little bit of an econ advantage going towards the English player. And speaking of English, they have a unique bonus that they can research. That's this pastures or enclosures upgrade. This allows them to earn gold for each of these farms that have been worked. So that is passive gold. And if that can get online, that can start helping you out. But look at this. 3 relics now in the cathedral for Lokth. That is 900 gold passive. And you can see that coming on. That passive basically indicates 18, I believe, gold villages. So that 18 eco. So that this building right here is 18 villages worth on gold. And if you look at the economy, that basically, or in one essence, says Lokth has a larger economy than SwordPuppy right now, which is a little bit unbelievable if you think about it. So Lokth's still afraid about the opponent and what units they could potentially have, and that's why we haven't seen this push out from Lokth. Hasn't been scouting. If they're scouting, you'd understand that SwordPuppy is actually really low in terms of defenses and really capability to survive. You can see all these towers going up, and that shows you how afraid SwordPuppy is of any aggression coming towards them. So if we have a look at that resource income, unbelievable gold income at the moment for the HRE player. I'm a little surprised we're still seeing only knights at the moment. Gonna be hoping to hit that age 4 post. We do have that veteran knight available. And so that's going to allow these to be even more tankier. I mean, they got 230 hit points. They got additional ranged armor. So the upgrades so far for Lokth have been on point. Because those are the upgrades you want to grab. You want to grab those upgrades to make sure to deal with those longbowmen. He's now getting +1 for the melee attack. The SwordPuppy still taking a little while to get some units online at the moment. The White Tower is going up. So there's two landmarks the village, the English can choose from. It is the White Tower, which acts as a keep, and I think the palace, I can't remember, but it's a palace which acts as a town center. So your age 3 landmark can be a TC or a keep, which either allows you to solidify a position with a keep or to increase booming with the town center. Most of the time, you usually see a White Tower dropped further down the map to secure your hold over your opponent, or you usually see a TC dropped in your base so you can get those additional resources up. So Lokth is now out and searching with those scouts. Gonna be trying to see if there's any little lone survivors, lone villagers working areas around the map. Also notice that there were still some deer are sitting around here, so he's gonna be able to bring home, what's that, 700, 1050 food, which is going to be much needed because this is about to run out. The food supply up here has run out, and so you're going to see lots of food start dropping quite heavily. But that is a huge heavy knight army. That is 32 knights. SwordPuppy is going to see this and start to panic. He's only got 14 spearmen. He's upgrading to try and get that veteran upgrade on his units, but I don't think it's going to be enough. There's too many knights here. These knights are going to barrage over your opponent. Just walk over the top of them, deal with them like there is no tomorrow. And just look how fast they are pillaging these buildings. Lokth saw that there were some pikemen. The pikemen shouldn't be too much of an issue. I actually didn't know that they also got the network of castles increased attack speed. So that 25% attack speed on these spearmen could be very, very beneficial. And here they come. They're going to start trying to engage on this. There's so many knights here from Lokth. This could be it. This could be the game right here. If SwordPuppy is not careful, SwordPuppy's trying to bait them back with the keep helping out. That keep is doing so much damage to these knights. This is burning through them. The spearmen are trying to hold up with the help of the TC, but there's so many knights here absorbing all that damage. They're going to be looking at what's killing up all this military to start looking for all the villages, and all the villages have quickly disappeared underneath into all these buildings. And now he needs to retreat. He needs to try to reduce the amount of damage that is going underway of this knight, because if you take too much damage here, you're effectively giving up knights for absolutely nothing. So SwordPuppy is in a very dangerous situation at the moment. He doesn't have too much. He doesn't really have any military. He's starting to try and build up something on the back end, but there's already knights here dealing with all these pikemen. Even the villagers are trying to get in on the action and start fighting, and they decide they're going to pull themselves out a pickaxe. And now the turnaround, the villagers trying to run for their lives, and with a little bit of movement speed thanks to that wheelbarrow, there's going to be a lack of villagers dying to this army of Lokth up here after they pick up that TC. So, we have a look at Lokth. There's so much resources, especially in wood. What are these? Villagers just standing around not doing too much, unfortunately. They're tending to do work is really what they're doing. As the knights are now raiding the English farms, burning them to smithereens, taking away all that wood that the English have invested into those farms, even looking towards the next outpost. And now they're going to be engaging. The spearman's going to clean up this early knight though, and they're going to quickly back off. The early knights from Lokth was not being paid attention of, looking elsewhere on the map, potentially microing it up. Going to be a little bit of an issue today to get himself a market and some trading underway. That wolf being a little bit of an issue. It's going to be able to be cleaned up there. As now, Lokth is on the hunt, trying to look for an opening around SwordPuppy's base. Oh my god, 26 knights with a couple more on reinforcement. That is so many knights from Lokth. And this is one of the issues. If you let your opponent, especially a HRE, take control of all these relics, actually, has Lokth spotted this? Lokth has spotted that relic, so I'm a little bit surprised we aren't seeing another monastery go down and then get in that extra relic. Because it won't take too much effort. And now Lokth's going to be starting to charge on in, looking for more kills. Going to be looking at trying to get rid of that barracks. If you can clean up the barracks, no more spearmen will be coming your way. The veteran spearman upgrade is available. Now SwordPuppy is trying to make this correct. We're trying to make sure that it doesn't get overextended and pulled out by all those knights. And look at them hold on here. They're holding on for dear life underneath this tower. But unfortunately, the pikemen, there seems to have stopped being created. We need some more units coming out from SwordPuppy. He needs to keep his production consistent and keep it high. Otherwise, he's going to get outmassed by his opponent. And that's what we can see here. 30. Oh, 29 knights up against 23 spearmen. Usually you need 2 to 3 spearmen per knight to be able to effectively deal with the onslaught, the strength that the knight possesses. The Knights of Lokth, sorry, the Scouts are not going to keep it on the lookout. He's going to start pushing again, trying to deal with this blacksmith upgrade to make sure that these buildings can't keep producing. And he will clean it up. SwordPuppy is now trying to take this engagement. All the veteran spearmen are doing a bit of damage, but they're just being chased by the Knights. The Knights don't care about your veteran spearman. They doesn't care about your plus 25% attack speed, but it's been funneled into a choke. So there's a beautiful little micro coming from SwordPuppy to hold on between the TC and that council hall. Still no archers being produced. The spearmen are now all being racked up and they're starting to come out one by one. But there are still so many knights here for Lokth. And they can continue rotating around, keep putting pressure on. What can SwordPuppy do in this engagement? Their best unit is absolutely worthless against the knight harass that Lokth is putting upon them. I would like to see Lokth try and just can outmaneuver these spearmen. Because all you need to do is split up these knights and just attack from multiple angles, because you're going to get so much damage done. It looks like he's trying to take the engagement here, and SwordPuppy is coming off second best as all his veteran spearmen are falling under the weight, the pressure, the strength of the knights coming from Lokth. The reinforcements of those spearmen are coming back in, but now the knight says, we've had enough of this. We're going to get rid of this archery range. It's the last thing that we do. Now, like I said before, I would really like to see this group split up and try and find multiple avenues on the base, because if you get hit one side or you're hitting an opponent on one side, you're not going to be paying too much attention to the other side or the alerts in a lot of times. So you can sneak yourself out a lot of extra villager kills, which normally wouldn't be the case. Especially if you're keeping a massed ball and you're keeping all units in one area. So it looks like Lokth has decided to rotate back to base, maybe get a little bit of heals up, and then take a round to attempt at bowling over the opponent's economy and push themselves towards that conquest victory. Ooh, I am starting to lose my voice. I hope you're all having a good time, Twitch chat. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Especially some of you first timers to my chat. It looks Waffler and Dinky King. Oh, Dinky, I should say, not Dinky King. And Armor. Glad to have you all here. Good luck in the tournament if you are playing. I know a couple of you are. And then Night Mass, the Death Ball. is just getting larger and larger. It is going to be so very hard for SwordPuppy to be able to deal with this. It's just so strong. I mean, he's got some spearmen, sorry. I really don't think that's enough. You really need to transfer, maybe get some crossbowmen out, which we just see some actually being produced now. Crossbowmen are going to help deal with that strong presence that those knights are giving Lokth at the moment. And this is a very aggressive TC coming out. Going to start, oh, it's not aggressive, very greedy TC. Putting it so far, very away from your base, allows it to be a little bit more susceptible to raids coming from the opponent. And if anything does happen over there, then it takes a little longer for your army to try and get into that location. Something I would definitely do. Doesn't mean it is the correct strategy at all. So the horsemen, they are on the hunt. They're going to come up from behind. This is a deadly amount of horses. It's past deadly. It is catastrophic amount of horses that are about to deal damage to his opponent. And will we see there be any kind of preparation available for SwordPuppy? I mean, the trader might run into it. But in other essence, no, there won't really be anything. And these knights are going to come through. They're like, okay, sweet. We'll just keep running past the trader. We don't want to kill those innocent people. As I say that though, they start beating up the other trader, but they don't kill it. Like I said, innocent people. Oh, there's a lot of spearmen coming on in. This might be too late from, well, this might be a little late from Lokth to be able to get into this base and destroy it before it really takes off and starts booming with the strength of the English. And just look at those crossbows. Those crossbows are slowly picking off the opponent, doing so much damage. And now they are forced to retreat with the tail in between their legs. I don't think you should be chasing them down, SwordPuppy. You do not have the advantage at the moment. You've just secured yourself and bought yourself time. 5 to 10 more minutes before you have to really worry about the game being over. A little bit of a house pop cap there as he makes his way back to base. I still am a little bit, how do I word this? I'm a little disappointed that we haven't seen more houses come on out from Lokth. Because Lokth constantly is getting house supplied. But I guess maybe Lokth's strategy is house supply me, build up all the resources, and then I can rebuy later on in game. I mean, it's not the most effective strategy because you really want to spend it, especially when it comes to infantry. You really need to have those spearmen available to kind of tear open your opponent. Zabek Palace. Not sure which one says. 50% more health. All buildings within take 30% damage. Oh, interesting. Actually, I wonder what the other landmark is because I don't know. That doesn't seem too strong to me. Reading that off the back. Anyone else have any thoughts on that and feels that? Or is it just me? Trying to find the information, but I cannot grab it at the moment. So look at this sneaky little town set up by Lokth up to the top, completely taking ownership of this entire region, taking ownership of the gold, stone, trees that even go along for boot. Have so much up here at the top. And we now see that palace has been completed. That gives the watch a little bit more time and a little bit more, let me rephrase that, a sense of security for Lokth. It's going to be building towards those siege weapons. It's got some mangonels. 3 mangonels is one of your key numbers you ever need in a siege force because that will one-shot a lot of things if they can get that volley off for that first target. So we've gone into a little bit of a macro and idle game at the moment between these two players. Then neither one of them are really intent on fighting, which I mean you can almost understand because this is a semi-finals, I believe this is. Let me have a quick check of that. Yeah, it's weird. Hmm. Never mind. That's not weird. Yeah, never mind. Let's return to the cast. I can't actually. There we go. I finally found it. This is the round of 3 in the losers bracket. Oh, I can't believe how long that took me. The Berkshire Powers is going to go up to try and continue to hold defense against the opponent. This is another keep S technology. So the English can get a keep at age 3 and a keep at age 4. A lot of time though, by the time you hit age 4, your opponent is also looming on age 4 and is going to be able to get all those trebuchets up and running. But we see this first army by Lokth on the left side. Scouts on the right. Actually, what happened to all the knights? Holy, there we go. That's the military building production I want to see. Ah, there's the scouts. They've snuck up behind. They've killed one of the traders at the market. So, oh no, there's another one walking. Please don't let it go down, SwordPuppy. SwordPuppy wants to try and fight this. He's going to bait that trader as the scum that he is, and the trader's going to keep walking. He's going to hide into the trade forest. And now the pikemen are starting to engage with the help of the crossbowmen. They take out 1, they take out 2. Can they find themselves a 3rd is the question. They do. But with that, the other side of the base is now being pushed. It says, howdy do. Do I have a story for you? And then he has to try and pull it back to listen to the story. This pop-up book. And this pop-up book, each time he flips a page, a boxing glove comes out and punches him. And this is the strength of Lokth here in this match. Both these players are playing for their final spot in this tournament. Because if they lose this, they're eliminated. They are out. And they have to sit on the sidelines to watch the next games. They do not want this, but this looks to be the case as it gets ever so closer for SwordPuppy to be able to deal with all this damage. It is an absolute massacre. Please, somebody make this stop. Would somebody think of the children? And unfortunately, I think that is going to be it for SwordPuppy. I cannot see him returning this game back around. He lost his TC. He's losing so many people, so many farms, so many buildings. And I think the inevitable will be upon us. And there we go. Lokth will be taking this round 3 losers bracket match and making their way, continuing to keep their fight on here in the Zero Efforts weekly #1 tournament. Stay tuned with more games coming up soon.